Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Ross Cowman, and I design games. I've been known to make music, and I live in Olympia.
Ross, how did you start designing games?
Well, yeah, I mean, even when I was a kid, I designed games. I think a lot of us do that when we're young. You are playing, you think of other ways you want to play. I used to make up scavenger hunts for my friends where we'd like write up clues and stick them in envelopes and hide them all over the neighborhood, and then you'd like burn something and tear it up maps, tear up maps and put them all over the place. So that was very much a part of my play, was making up games with my friends. And then as I got older, like about 8, I got introduced to Dungeons and Dragons, and I was obsessed. I didn't have anyone to play with, so I just played by myself. I had the blue Dungeons and Dragons book, and it had an adventure in the back, and I made characters, and I would like roll dice and just do that and talk in funny voices to myself for like hours. I was super stoked about it. Eventually I got friends, and we would play games together. And I just got really hooked. It's just so fun to like make up an experience to share with people, and I don't know. I think role-playing games were a really good entryway into that, and like dungeon mastering specifically, because it really asks you to make things up. It really invites you to create adventures, and you have to think on the fly and improvise when people want to do things that weren't planned for. Definitely really gets you in that kind of game design mindset.
Ross, how did Heart of the Deernicorn begin?
So Heart of the Deernicorn started around 2013, 2012, but in 2015 I started doing it full time, and because of the Fall of Magic Kickstarter, which did really well, and that kind of like really showed me that people were really excited about the games that I was interested in making, and that there was some support for that, and that led me to kind of transition from doing games part-time to doing games full-time.
Ross, how did you meet Taylor, and how did you get involved with Bad Baby Lich Lords?
I met Taylor Dow through my friend Jude Wasserman, who also has done a lot of marketing stuff for Deernicorn, so you might have seen them on our TikToks. Jude, back when Jude was 18, they used to come to the story game Olympia nights. There's this weekly event that I was hosting where we would play story games, and I thought Jude was super cool. We hit it off. We were friends and started hanging out more, and Jude invited me to their house one time to play some board games, and I think I ended up running Monster Hearts for Taylor and Jude and maybe some other people. Taylor and Jude used to live together. So I mean, that's how we met, and we just started gaming together, and I knew Taylor was a really great illustrator, and when Fall Magic was coming out and doing well, I needed some more illustrations, and Taylor ended up doing some of the illustration work for Fall of Magic, which was super cool. They made all these island cards. They did all the island card illustrations for Fall of Magic.
Yeah, and so Taylor came to you with Bad Baby Lich Lords.
Yes, so as part of Taylor's master's program, they came up with a card game idea called Bad Baby Lich Lords, and they just did a bunch of sketches of the cards and had made a cover and designed this really quick game, which was just the initial premise was, wouldn't it be cool if there was this game that was all about just trying to have all of your creatures die, having that be kind of a core thing. And they got really excited about the project and we had this, and asked me if I would be the game designer and work on them with the game design part.
Ross, what is it like switching from role-playing games to board game design?
Yeah, so switching from role-playing games to board games is quite challenging. There are a lot of differences in just the basics, the basic expectations that people have, when they sit down to play a role-playing game versus a more traditional board game. When I am designing role-playing games, I am very much dealing a lot with prompts, with the meaning of individual words. There's this very poetry writing aspect to it, to the design, and you're really trying to give people the tools to have this creative process together, to be able to make art together, to be able to tell this story together. And when you're playing a board game, you are really have to have these really tight mechanics that all work together, and you really have to have everything kind of planned out. It's like in a role-playing game, you're creating this expansive space for the players where we don't really know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be quite different every time that you play the game. Though there's still, but you also want there to be enough of a container to contain that energy and focus it, so we're not just telling this totally bonkers story. When you're playing a board game, you actually have to the container has to be a lot tighter, and you really have to make sure that the game doesn't break. And there's many iterations of this game where we've designed 111 named versions of Lich Lords, and more before we started naming them. There's some of them where many of them, like the first 60 of them, there's really broken things about the game. You would end up with these mechanical loops, where this thing targets this thing, and now the whole deck gets emptied out. So you want to feel that you're designing a contest, and you want that contest to be fair. So you want people to have the information that they need in order to be able to make strategic decisions. You want there to be multiple viable strategies that you can execute. You want people to have enough information that they have interesting things they can make informed decisions about what they're going to do on their turn. But you don't want there to be perfect information, because we're not trying to make chess here, where it's just whoever has studied the game the most, is always going to be the person that wins. You want there to feel like someone has a chance, even if it's their first time playing the game. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and and then also on the so as a big part of this process was really intensive playtesting, also because it was my first game. I had to really teach myself how to be I feel like every time I design a game, I am kind of teaching myself how to be a game designer all over again. With Bad Baby Lich Lords, it was like that even more so, because I was not only designing a role-playing game that was doing something completely different than I'd ever done before, but I was also working in a medium. It's like I was used to working with acrylic paint, and now all of a sudden I'm doing carpentry. That's kind of what it felt like. But I have a lot of experience playing games, and I know what a good game feels like, and I know how to learn things, and and we really taught ourselves together how to make this game and have this game become what it needed to become.